And good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to UndercoverETuk. I hope everyone's doing really well. Really crap weather here in the UK at the moment. Pouring with rain. I got absolutely soaked earlier on. But whilst I was getting soaked, I did have a few thoughts about what I wanted to do next. And this video is going to be a little bit different again to the others, okay? I'm not even going to look at too much for UAP evidence. This, for me, today, is all about going back in time to when Trump was first running for presidency, to what's happening now and how it relates to what's going on in the UAP world, right? I do believe it's linked. I think people with as much power as they have, some of these people that have a lot of power, they can only obtain that power because they are the highest of the high ranking in terms of knowledge. And where knowledge is involved, UAP, UFO knowledge comes into play, I believe. Okay, so I'm just trying to try and connect the dots. Like I said, this is going to be a completely out there video, but I'm going to try and connect the dots and give you my opinion based on what I'm seeing, okay? And I take what I'm seeing with a pinch of salt, folks, because as you guys know, politicians love to lie. Probably comes in front of one of the worst jobs ever, which is being a parking ticket man, right? I think it's just one of the worst jobs ever, and I think being a politician actually tops that. So sorry if you're a ticket man out there and you're putting tickets on cars for parking and all that stuff, but honestly, politicians are worse. They just are. Ask anyone, do you trust a politician? They'll say no before they even think about it. Most people, right? Some people believe everything they hear and they're a bit naive, but majority of people that woke up and realised that a lot of people are lying in the world, politicians are right down the very bottom, right, for trust. And we're going to have a deep discussion today about who we can trust, who we should trust, why, and what matters to us the most. So let's get into it, guys. Okay, so to start off, we have to go back to 2016 when Trump was first running against Hillary Clinton for the new presidency, guys. And you'll probably remember this, and I would imagine every single person in the world has seen this very video, okay? This is the first presidential debate, St. Louis presidential debate, Washington University, and yeah, let's just play it.
Can fact check him in real time. Last time at the first debate, we had millions of people fact checking, so I expect we'll have millions more fact checking because, you know, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
To me, it sounded like Hillary didn't know what she was saying. She was just trying to say something clever, and she walked right into that one. That's all I've got to say on it, right? Now, I believe at this point, Trump feels like he has done, or at least no one can prove that he's done no wrong, okay? He's going for presidency. I think everyone was hyped up about the fact that he wanted to make real change. And in 2016, he won. Yeah, he won. And it was a really solid 4 years, I think, for the American people. I only heard good things, to be honest with you. There weren't too many people in the press shouting, oh, he hasn't done this, he hasn't done that, the country's falling to crap. I didn't hear none of that during the his first four-year term, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. But jumping to the next term, so 2020, okay, he goes up against Biden. Now, they were considering to put Hillary in there. They had a few candidates. They went with Biden, okay? And what happened was Biden won. As you guys know, 2020, Biden won. It was a bit of a shock to the nation and it was a shock to Donald Trump as well. He was ahead like the night before, and then that night it just went the other way completely. And he said the election was rigged. And to be honest, the lead up to the final results, I felt like he was going to win. I think a lot of people felt like he had it in the bag, right? And then it turns out he lost. So it was a bit of a shock to the system. And this happened, unfortunately, you know, the Capitol riots. So check it out, folks.
We need to hold the doors of the Capitol. I need public support. lost the line. We lost the line. All MPDs get back. All MPDs get back up to the upper deck. All MPDs get back to the upper deck.
They were peaceful people. These were great people. The crowd was unbelievable. And I mentioned the word love. The love in the air. I've never seen anything like it.
So, Biden did his 4 years, and from what I could tell, it was awful. Yeah, for anyone that supports Biden, Obama, Clinton, and is far left, or maybe you think it's right in the middle and right, yeah. From an outside perspective, for someone who doesn't really care about politicians at all, to be honest with you, I look at this from an outside perspective. And for anyone who's in the US that really doesn't like where I'm going with this, you're probably just sat there going, look, British guy doesn't even know what he's talking about. Look, I base everything that I'm going to say on logic. What I see and what I read really doesn't matter. It's actions that speak louder than words. Okay, so when you watch this video, you have to keep that in mind. It's actions that speak louder than words. And I do care about what happens to the USA, right? I've got family that live out in Philadelphia. I'm not being funny. When the fentanyl crisis started, I was worried for them going out to the shop. I should be, right? I've got every right to be worried that the streets in the US are not safe for my family. So that's where I'm at with this, and why I chose to kind of bring this up. And it does tie in with the UFO thing, I believe. I will let you guys know in a little while why, and I'll explain it all. But long story short, Biden wins, and he does his 4 years. It was awful. They have another election in 2024. This is one of the campaigning trips that Donald Trump did. This time it's Pennsylvania. And of course, everyone knows that he was nearly assassinated that day. I just want to play you the clip.
Take a look at what happened.
So, and you guys will remember if you've been watching the channel. If you haven't, search for the Trump assassination attempt on my channel. But there was a UAP that flew over Trump the moment that shot was fired, folks, or thereabouts. I think it was just after the shot was fired that the UFO was seen anyway, and I think there might have been more than one, but certainly a dragon went right over the crowd and right over the stage as his security was surrounding Trump, right? So we know this, guys, we know this. We've done our dragon research. For anyone that's on the fence, fine, you don't even have to believe that was a UFO. You don't have to believe that it was there for no reason or some reason. We can only speculate at this point, right? But he survived the shooting, he carried on campaigning, and he went on to win. With the help of certain people, right? Including this man. Hulk Hogan. Rest in peace, buddy. Again, controversial figure. People said that he'd done some things in the past. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs between it all, right? All I know is, as a childhood fan, Hulk Hogan was the man, right? WWF, he was the man. That's it. That's all I know. I don't really know any more or any less what he has or hasn't done. What I do know is rich people have always got a ghost, right? And although I kind of want Trump to do better for America and for the world, I think he's got ghosts. Anyway, this is a clip taken from the celebration of Trump winning his second term as president in 2024. Okay, so Donald Trump has won the presidency again. He has power, right? And all of a sudden, guys, he's being accused of being in the Epstein files. Was he told back in May by one of his colleagues, one of his staff, that he was in the Epstein files? Apparently so. And apparently he's lied to the press and said that he wasn't made aware, he wasn't aware. Then he said he didn't really pay much attention to it. Folks, let me know what you think after seeing this video. Do you think he played a role in what Epstein was doing? Do you think he was fully involved? Do you think he knew and he just took a step back and went, nah, not for me? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We're at this stage where there's quite a lot on Trump at the moment. There's recordings, there's video of him and Epstein together, there's recordings of him saying some pretty explicit stuff that borderline, you know, questionable, right? Definitely questionable. Has he got ghosts? Probably. Being a very rich, wealthy man in his prime at the time, knowing people like Jeffrey Epstein and others, he had connections. He probably, you know, had a lavish lifestyle that most of us could even dream of, right? And he probably made some mistakes along the way. And that's life. I'll be honest with you, that is life. Did he make some big ones? Paedophilia? I don't know. I guess we're gonna find out soon enough, right? Do I think... Watch the clip. Let me know what your thoughts are based on this.
Well, I want everything to be shown. You know, as long as it's fair and reasonable, I think it will be shown and it should be shown. And I think he feels that way, and I think Pam feels that way. But it's got to be, you know, it's got to be stuff that really doesn't hurt people unfairly, because you have so many people involved. And if they can do that in a fair way, I think it's great. I think it's really great. The whole thing is a scam. It's a scam set up by the Democrats, and they love talking about it. But I would like to see people exposed that might be bad. And we'll see how that all works out. But it's getting to be very old news. You know, if they had anything, they would have done it the week before the election, because they were losing by a lot. If they had anything, they would have done it. They controlled the file. The Democrats controlled it. Comey and all this, you know, sleazebags, every one of them that you read about all the time. And I guess they've got some problems now having to do with yet a different scandal, very big one. But they control that file. So I would think that if they would have had something in the file, they would have released it about a week before the election, maybe 2 weeks, right, Brian?
Now, for me, Donald Trump there is kind of saying we should release them, but we should release them as long as they're good, right? As long as we don't incriminate anyone that we don't need to incriminate, and as long as we protect people that want and need the protection within the documents. I mean, it's fair. It's a fair comment. But for me, the statement almost says, and if we find anything on me, it will just be called fake, right? And he's kind of prepped himself for that. So when this all comes out, he can say, well, I did say it would be fake, right? They've got possession of it. They pretty much run the show. At the same time, if they wanted to add Donald Trump's name in there, it would have come out 2 weeks before the election. For sure. They would never have let him win the vote, right? Unless Donald has something on them as well. Check this next clip out, guys.
Nancy Pelosi became rich by having inside information. She made a fortune with her husband, and I think that's disgraceful. So in that sense, I'd like it, but I'd have to really see I study these things very carefully, and this just happened. So I'll take a look at it. But conceptually, I like it. And what I do think is Nancy Pelosi should be investigated, because she has the highest return of anybody practically in the history of Wall Street, save a few. How did that happen? It happened by she knows exactly what's going to happen, what's going to be announced. She buys stock, and then the stock goes up after the announcement's made.
So, I mean, at this point, I feel like they're at a crossfire, right? So you remember the first clip I showed you back in 2016. Trump said, well, Hillary said, well, it's a good job you're not in charge of the law. And he turned around and said, yeah, because I'll throw you in jail, right? He's obviously got something on her, right? But at the same time, I kind of feel like they've got something on him as well. I think his name is in the Epstein files, guys. There'll be some very well-known, very famous, very well-off people that do not want this list to come out. And because Trump is on there, because the Clintons are likely on there, it's just like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Will the files get released? Maybe. Maybe. Why would they get released? Because there's so much pressure from people that want to see him now, right? And at the same time, if you think about it, guys, Biden has lost power. This is just my opinion, right? But the way I see it, if Biden's lost power, so's Hillary, so's Obama, so's Bush, so's anyone that's got anything to do with that side of the party, that side of the government, right? The left side, the Democrats. If anyone's got anything to do with Democrats, they've now lost power because Trump is now in charge, right? So the way I see it, they gained power back in 2020, they lost it in 2024, and now they're throwing the one card that they've got left to try and get Trump out of power, right? Even though they're going to potentially incriminate themselves in these files, they need to try and get power back. And the only way to do it is to crush a few heads and put a new one in charge, guys. And that's kind of what they do. This is the way I see it. It's just this, everything I'm saying is based on opinion, right? But if you think about it, and I'll go back to it, they've been bickering for years, back and forth, since 2016. 9 years now, they've been bickering back and forth about, oh, I'm going to do this to you, and I could do this to you, and basically wanting to throw each other in jail, but not actually doing anything, folks. And action, like I said, speaks louder than words, okay? So I think they've got dirt on each other. I think it's all about to come out because, A, Trump's got no choice, okay? People want this so badly, he's going to lose credibility if he doesn't publish it. At the same time, he knows that he's going to have to fight the same battle that the left Democrats are going to have to fight if they get released, which is they're lying. This is who's in there, this is who's in there, this is who's in there, right? It's going to be a lot of back and forth again, lots. And what I worry for is that they managed to get rid of Trump and put someone in that has already got an agenda, guys. And this is what we need to be careful of. Now, I wanted to add this video in here as well. Matt Gaetz just talks a little bit about Epstein and what he thinks, okay? And I think this is really important because Matt Gaetz, I think, is one of those guys that gives no Fs, just wants the truth, and even he's fighting this establishment. Both sides. Take a look.
Want to know why Matt Gaetz was blocked for becoming Attorney General? Why Trump loyalists, people who stood by him through everything, suddenly turned on Gaetz and killed the nomination? Because Israel couldn't trust him. They knew he couldn't be trusted to play ball. He couldn't be controlled. So they gave the order to the compromised Congress and Gaetz was tossed aside. To be replaced with a woman they knew they could intimidate into compliance with their agenda.
You got a 99%
on Epstein.
issue.
Bill Barr is the one that needs to be called in to give sworn testimony on what happened there at Bureau of Prisons, because that is not that. There's just no way that the story you're getting is the real story there. No freaking way, and Bill Barr knows it.
I think most people believe that, right? And like it's like no way that that's.
I actually think it was I actually think that on Epstein, it was a foreign government that took him out. I don't think it was a domestic enterprise.
Really?
I do. I'm not going to say which one, but I don't think it was domestic inspired to take out of him. I think that was a foreign operation, government sponsored.
So foreign operation took out Epstein inside of our prison?
Yes.
So they must have been allowed to.
I think it was in concert with people in our government.
There you go. Now, he thinks it was an inside job, and I can tell you now, he didn't name the country, but I can tell you now, it's either Israel or an Arab country, right? The reason why they would want to take Epstein out is because money is what gets you somewhere in this world, okay? It gets you pretty much whatever you want to a degree. And most people would go, well, it doesn't buy you everything. Well, if you go on the black market, I think you find it almost does. And Epstein had a service. You know, he had a service, and he was the top of the food chain in terms of delivery of this service. And people would have gone to him and paid mega bucks to go and live out one of their fantasies. And I tell you right now, if they unleash that list of people, there's only one name that Trump cares about in that list, and that's his own. Right? That's his own. He probably will throw everyone else under the bus because I genuinely believe he wants better for the country. Why do I think that? Because in his first 4 years, he did okay. He actually did all right, you know? And I feel like it could have been a stolen election. It could have been. I don't know for sure, but I feel like it could have been. And Biden did such a bad job. You've only got to look at how many press conferences the man took. I think Trump did more press conferences in his first 2 weeks than Biden did in his whole 4-year term. That tells you something in itself. Again, actions speak louder than words, folks. Does that mean that Trump is just more confident? Yeah, it does, but that speaks volumes. It means that Trump knows what he's talking about, or at least believes in what he's talking about. I feel like Biden was just reading the teleprompter all the time and being told what to say, and being directed. By who, might I add? That's the big question here, folks.
What do we have here? Trump may try to take control of UFO programs from the Pentagon and disclose them for political gain. So there's going to be some sort of disclosure soon. There seems to be quite a bit of chatter about this.
A July 16th article in the Italian weekly news magazine L'Espresso, citing anonymous sources, alleges that the Trump White House is seeking to take control of certain secretive programs related to unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAP, from the Pentagon, the Department of Defense.
There you have it, and thank you, Jay at Skywatch Signal, for being so diligent, mate, and getting yourself out there, buddy. And it's a big deal. It really is a big deal. Now, people may ask themselves, why would Trump want to handle the UFO files when he's been so on the fence and so neutral about the whole thing? He is now, I believe, on his last cards, okay? The files are going to come out. He knows they're going to get released. He's basically said publicly, we should release them, right, as of yesterday. I think he's doing that because he knows he's got no choice. He's going to have to fight the fight with the public and with the Democrats and with the control group, because let's be honest, he's fighting the whole establishment. There's no way you lose the first term by it being stolen, then you get assassinated or nearly assassinated on your second term. You still defy all the odds and win despite the riots, despite everything. Their last card, I believe, is the Epstein files. He's got a plan to try and bat that back. He might still be guilty, guys. Yeah, he's obviously got ghosts. And again, watching back on that tape of him and Epstein, there's no way in hell that you're friends with a guy like that and don't know what he's doing or don't have an idea, okay? And for those that have seen the most recent clips on Virginia Giuffre and what Trump said about Virginia, he basically said that she was stolen from Mar-a-Lago. That tells me, right, that staff were being stolen and he did nothing about it. Potentially knowing where those girls were going to end up. Potentially. Right? That's where the problem lies with that statement. Is that if he knew what Epstein was doing and being friends with that guy, being in the place you were, being as high up as you were, being as rich as you were, you probably knew a thing or two, right? I'm sure you guys shared secrets. You know, the letter you wrote to him, right? Look, guys, logically speaking, Trump's probably got some ghosts. I'm just going to put it out there. And I'll say it about Starmer or anyone. Because, to be honest with you, I don't give two flipping fecks about the politicians, right? So I'm just going to say it as it is. I feel like Trump has some ghosts. They're going to use it against him. And he's now going for UFO files because he needs more dirt, right? The big dirt, the real big secrets of this world. And if he can deliver that to the people, it will just, excuse the pun, trump everything else that's been said about him, right? Let's be honest, that's massive. If he can deliver that information before the Swedish or the Germans or the French or anyone else and give the most credible evidence first time round to the world, that will be something else, guys, something else. Will he keep hold of the presidency? I don't know, right? Depends what the files say, depends what investigations have been had. Is he going to try and take as many people out with him as possible? Absolutely. And I said this when he got elected last year. The war is on, the inside war, and he's going to take out a lot of people. He threatened Hillary with jail once. This time he will be going for it. I'm pretty sure he will be going for it this time. So, UFOs. What's this got to do with Jeffrey Epstein? Probably nothing, but I guarantee you he would have had some knowledge, or he would have known people that would have had knowledge. You don't be that rich and that high up and own your own fecking island, right? Unless you know people. And honestly, like, to get away with some of the things that these people in government have done, e.g. Nancy Pelosi, to get away with making that much money on trade when she's not even a trader, she's an effing politician, right? That's abuse of the highest degree, right? If she can get away with that, she's got some power behind her. Yeah, she's got some power behind her. And I'm sorry, with that sort of power comes a lot of deep stuff, a lot of secrets, guys, and this is why I think it's linked. Now, let's get on to, and this, I showed this a while back, guys, but this is Courtney Brown, a remote viewer who works in an organisation with other remote viewers who supposedly have contact with ETs and have done since the 90s, guys. And I just want you to listen to what he's got to say, because this is really important.
It's by plan. They're trying to do it. This is a suppressed understanding that is suppressed all on the level of governments all throughout. People, the authorities, which ultimately, remember, the bad ETs have direct interactions with the elite. They don't want people to know this. And when they knew the remote viewing capabilities were going to come out anyway, they released some of the remote viewers into the public with the understanding that they'd stay within the New Age bookstore community. They'd stay fringy, and it wouldn't get into the mainstream. That was the whole purpose, to keep it out of the mainstream. But at this point, you know, all of the major governments that have anything to do with anything know that it actually can exist. And now the ETs are trying to push the thing forward. Now, as far as the big ships are concerned, it started, but there's going to be some bigger ships. It hasn't really fully happened, but it's in the works. They said the next big stage is big ships. And then on the January meeting, they said, now we want people to try to communicate with us. They said, basically, obviously, if we're out there with, you know, thousands of ships and we're letting people see us, we're obviously trying to communicate with people. So now we want the people to try to communicate back. Now we want them to lose their fear of us because they can see us, but now try to communicate back. And they said anything will work. We'll be able to pick you up no matter what. And not pick you up physically, but pick up what you're trying to do. Just wave. Put a banner out like you go to a football game. Put a banner out, paint on a sheet. Sure, no, wave the sheet. I mean, anything you do, we'll notice. Try to communicate back. And then for the people who are wanting to get a little bit more advanced on this.
Now, for anyone that's like, well, I remember seeing that. I remember hearing that. Look what's coming about now, guys. Yeah? The Atlas object, the one that Skywatch Signal's been reporting on X, the one that Avi Loeb has been talking about. This big object is on its way towards Earth, folks, and it's going to come right behind the sun. And it's just mathematically so unlikely that an object of that size coming from outside the solar system has found a wave that it's following that's going to take it right behind the sun, folks. Avi Loeb's given his opinion on this. I want you guys to listen to him and check it out right now.
Because it has anomalies. It moves on a trajectory that is very unusual. It is aligned with the orbit of the Earth around the sun, and it will get extremely close to the inner planets like for example, Jupiter, Mars, or Venus, it will arrive closest to the sun when the Earth is on the opposite side. So we won't be able to look at it. And that's the point where a spacecraft could make a maneuver to slow down. And it's coming from the direction of the Milky Way galaxy, the center of the Milky Way galaxy, where the sky is very crowded with stars. So that's why it took a while to notice it. And altogether, the chance of this trajectory is less than 0.2% to be aligned with the orbit of the Earth around the sun, less than 1 part in 20,000 to arrive so close to the other planets. And one wonders, could it be a design trajectory? And I'm not saying that we know, but I'm saying that we need to collect more data to figure out the nature of this object. And if it turns out to be a comet, if it's surrounded by a beautiful cometary tail that is glowing in the sunlight as it gets closer to the sun, so be it. But from now on, the Rubin Observatory in Chile will discover a new interstellar object every few months. And my point is, we should check whether any of these objects might be technological in origin, because it's a security risk to Earth.
Right. How do you check that? So it's interesting you mentioned about the trail that might indicate it's a comet. What would be the signs that it's not a comet?
Well, so I suggest first establishing a scale of risk from interstellar objects, similar to the Richter scale for the risk from earthquakes. A 0 would mean that we identify a beautiful tail and it looks just like a regular comet. We can infer the composition of the tail. It's similar to comets. A 10 would mean that the object maneuvers in ways that cannot be explained by the force of gravity, that there must be an engine in it, or it has an unusual shape, or it has artificial lights. And there should be an organization that decides whether an incoming object could be a risk, because we talk a lot about existential risks from artificial intelligence, from climate change, from an asteroid that may impact the Earth, but we don't talk at all about the possibility of alien tech. And I think we should take it into consideration, because we sent out spacecraft that would leave the solar system.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. So it is estimated to be about 12 miles long, okay? You, and correct me if I'm wrong, you want to use NASA's Juno spacecraft to intercept the path of that. It has instruments that could study it. It could change the trajectory of the orbit. Can you explain a little bit more how this would work?
Yeah, so we should take advantage of the fact that it comes so close to Jupiter. It's quite amazing. If you look at Jupiter's orbit, it just gets to the point where 3I Atlas will be on the 16th of March, 2026. And I calculated that if we give a small kick to Juno of 2.6 kilometers per second, just around the time when NASA was thinking of just sinking it into Jupiter, because it's the end of the mission. And I'm saying, instead of letting it dive into Jupiter, just kick it out, away from Jupiter, then with the right orientation, it will actually intercept the path of 3I Atlas. And it's an amazing opportunity for us to learn much more about this object. Yeah. Because we can't launch any rocket from Earth that would intercept this object. It's moving too fast relative to Earth, in the opposite direction of the motion of Earth around the sun.
You wrote that if this 3I Atlas is a technological artifact, it could be evidence of the dark forest hypothesis. What is that?
That's one of the solutions to Fermi's paradox, which is the question, where is everybody? And of course, it's possible that aliens are out there, but they are worried about predators, and therefore they are silent, as if they are in a dark forest. And if they see a civilization like ours, a young technological civilization that gets more powerful over time, and they are listening to us, they might send a probe or a spacecraft on a reconnaissance mission, or with some other goals. And we should be ready for that. We should monitor the sky and be aware of that potential possibility, and just ignoring it is not intelligent on our behalf.
So there we have it, guys. In a nutshell, it looks like the remote viewers may be right. They may be right. Avi Loeb is suggesting that a 0.2% chance this thing would have of finding the trajectory that it's on. And the most concerning thing for him is when it goes behind the sun, it may slow down and even stop or turn towards the Earth, right? We don't really know what this is. We've got to wait a few months before we can really figure out and get eyes on it. They've got to make a decision at NASA whether they're going to try and deflect the object that they already have up there to try and swing round and rendezvous with this object to try and get some data on it, right? They need to get data on this thing. They need to know what the hell this thing is coming towards our planet, albeit not on a collision course. But he makes a point. It could be alien life. They could be hidden away. We know they are, right? We know they are. We see them in the skies. We know how good they are at hiding themselves. The mimicry, the speed, they are very, very good at hiding themselves. And I feel like these larger craft, the ones that Courtney Brown were talking about, are well on their way, guys. Let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed that one. I'd love to know all your insights and your thoughts in the comments. I know that the story goes so much deeper when it comes to elections and politicians and all that stuff. Folks, all I will say to you is take what you hear from the news outlets with a very large pinch of salt. There are many conversations that happen behind closed doors, and I tell you what, things like the Iraq war, the war now in Ukraine, I can tell you now that was all planned in years in advance. That wasn't just happened and decided over a weekend. Whether they're testing weapons that they've made secretly, I really do believe it all surrounds this topic, guys, and they don't mind turning over a country to test a weapon if they feel like there's a potential threat coming from outside the solar system, and they need to be prepared, guys. That's all I've got to say, folks. It's an interesting theory. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for your time. Take care, all the best, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye for now.
You